Hello.
Hello.
You see this way, low.
Oh.
All right.
All right. I'm Olivia.
I'm Terry, West Tennessee K9. We're in front of the festive Christmas tree.
I gotta turn us down.
That's me. Hey, Olivia Lyman is watching.
Hey, I'm watching.
Do the sweepy thing.
The sweepy thing?
Mm-hmm. Look.
Oh.
All right. All right.
And Amber's watching. Hello, Amber.
Hello, Amber.
How do you put it on here? On here.
Go.
Gotcha, go.
Let's see. I don't even remember.
Happy Thursday, happy Friday Eve to everyone.
Yes.
Say hello when you pop on.
Running a little behind. Traffic was horrible.
I live out, a little bit out. So.
Yeah. So did we do it on this last time? I don't remember.
I don't remember how we did it.
Well, the questions are on there, so
I've got the questions on my
yeah.
go direction.
Somehow we did it on here. I don't remember how we did it.
Go.
Go down. How to get stern. We should call it dog trainer.
We should. You know of any?
I know a couple.
Anybody ready for Christmas?
I'm ready for Christmas.
Can you watch your own live?
I don't think so. I don't remember how I did it. Did we just do it on your phone?
I think we just did it on my phone.
But I sent all the questions to your phone too.
That's okay. I can go back and forth. I can toggle.
Why don't you just take a second and send the questions to the iPad
The iPad.
and just airdrop them.
I have to go through each individual one. Airdrop. Home's iPad.
Yes. All right. Well, we're gonna kind of get started.
How was your day?
My day was very busy. Amber came in and helped me today. Thank you, Amber.
Awesome.
We did like 6 or 7 board and train dogs today.
Nice.
Answered a lot of questions for Q&A, or outside of Q&A. It was a good day.
That's good.
How about you?
It's pretty quiet.
Quiet day?
Very quiet day. But sometimes quiet's good. That means there's no catastrophes to fix. But tomorrow's Friday. I have a move-in tomorrow, and then I have a board retreat, which that's gonna be really fun. I get to go make this brush and something. I don't remember the name of the company, but it's like paint stuff. It's crafty. I'm a little crafty, so I like that kind of stuff.
Turn this way. I feel like I'm like not facing you.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm good, Terry.
I'm Olivia.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We should date.
We should date.
It'd be
I thought
fun.
about it.
Yeah?
I feel kind of scared to ask you out.
Why?
You're kind of intimidating. You're tall. So yeah, so tomorrow we got a luncheon.
Yeah, you have a lunch and learn or something?
Lunch and learn. Going to a vet's office tomorrow and talk about dog behavior.
Very cool.
Very cool to the veterinarians.
Veterinarians?
And their staff.
Is that the proper way to say it? Veterinarians?
Veterinarians and their staff.
And their staff.
And their staff. You have to put S's in there.
And their staff?
Plus a few S's in plain French.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. Some few S's or something.
All right.
Okay, so
Ah.
let's get to the questions. If you have...
Ask that one first.
Huh?
They go together, so you have to ask that one first.
Oh.
Or you'll sound silly.
Okay, so if
We
you
don't-
have any questions...
Go ahead.
If you have any...
Edit.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to sound silly.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. So if you have any questions, email them or post them below here, but we have a few that we can go ahead with. So, okay, are you ready?
Yeah, my moustache is tickling my nose.
Your mustache?
My moustache.
Mustache. Okay, so this is a question from Brittany. Do you use an auditory cue when teaching off-leash heel? Do you want me to read the rest of it?
Sure.
I don't use a word with my personal dogs on leash, but feel like I need a word or visual cue when off leash.
Why'd you read it like this?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Did
know.
you put your own interpretation on there?
I guess so.
I guess so. So off leash.
Do you use an auditory cue when teaching off leash heel?
I do. So on leash heel, you'll hear me say in my videos all the time. and things I write, you'll hear me say that I don't say the word heel. When I walk, I want the dog to walk. When I stop, I want the dog to stop. So that has to do with spatial pressure. Spatial pressure works in every direction. People think spatial pressure, and that's creating space between a dog. They think it's a lot of times it's portrayed to be only space, creating spatial pressure if I'm trying to make a dog stop. But spatial pressure it can go any way. So I have a dog walking beside me. I teach the dog when I stop, based on where I am as an anchor, the dog doesn't go past there, he gets a correction.
Mm-hmm.
So with most of the dogs I train, all the dogs I train, they learn leash pressure and they learn leash work first. So they all learn that follow walk. They all learn to move if I move, stop if I stop.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you're starting to teach the heel, the off-leash heel, heel's a position. So you can still teach the off-leash or the follow walk or the heel position without a word. Where you go and get into trouble is if I'm calling the dogs to me and I'm calling the dog, so I call Rambler. I say, Rambler, here. Rambler starts coming. And so I've given him the here command. If I don't want him to stop in front of me and I want him to heel, he has to know where to go. So what we forget a lot is that the heel is a position, not a movement. So when I would teach or use the word heel with clients and their dogs, what would happen almost every time, the client would say heel and the dog wouldn't move. And so they'd give a correction. So the dog was heeling. The dog was in the heel position. They have to move. So to eliminate that frustration with the client and the overcorrection of the dog, I took it out. So once I teach the dog the heel position, then I name it. So the dog is back here. When the dog understands where it's supposed to be in relation to you, super easy to name it. You give it a name, you give it a word. You can give it the name Fritos, you can give it the name Skittles. It doesn't matter what you call that. So
as long as you're consistent.
As long as you're consistent, it'd be pretty funny if you named all of your commands after candy.
That would be funny.
So Snickers.
We should do that.
So Snickers means sit.
Well, so the dogs know plots to lay down, and my dad was over here and Rambler was here and he kept going, flop, 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 and Rambler's looking at him like, have no clue what you're talking about, dude.
Wouldn't it be funny? I should train a dog, maybe Layla. That'd be the perfect dog. Every command, the heel position could be Fritos, or no, candy, what's the candy? The heel position could be Twix. And Snickers could be sit. And Milky Way could be down. Milky Way. That would be so funny. Nerds. So back to the question.
Fun project.
We're off on a tangent. So you can give the dogs different commands for whatever. So you're calling this heel. Back to heel. I had to get back on track. Yes. Sorry, sidetracked. Squirrel. So heel is a position. So once you teach the dog to walk on a leash beside you, super easy to name it. Anything, place, anything, super easy to name it afterwards. But if I'm doing off leash, the dog has to know what position I'm telling it to go to. Make sense?
Doesn't.
So if the dog's wandering off to the side, heel, back to my side. And you still, when you begin off leash training, you still use a leash. So the dog wanders off. Now you know to walk beside me, you're getting ahead, so now I'm going to use leash pressure, heel. Can you do that right from the beginning? Absolutely. I taught my dogs right from the beginning. Right. You can say heel. There's nothing, no big deal, nothing wrong with that. I just don't do it because it confuses clients. I've limited to what I teach the dogs basically to just about 4 commands. I forgot what they are. Sit, down, here, place, and no. That's about it.
Probably that first.
Yeah, no first.
No first, yeah.
No means stop doing what you're doing. So, yes, most definitely teaching off leash. You can even start with leash. You can teach the dog to heel. The dog just has to know what it means.
Right.
It's a position, not a motion.
How do you pronounce his name?
I don't know. How do you pronounce your name? Nochum? I just call him Russell because I can't pronounce your first name.
All right. Well, he said he was explaining this to a friend and told him I was going to train a dog with food as all commands just to show the word only has the meaning you give it.
That'd be awesome.
So, yeah.
That'd be awesome. So our dogs, their alert commands, like to bark, is either watch, and they're roar. Or I've also taught them to go, if I just go, psst,
Right.
it means like go crazy, bark at the person, whoever you see first.
Yeah.
So you can teach a dog, you can teach your dog, like our dogs know German, so we train them in, but they also know down, and they sit.
They know, go away.
Yeah, go away, go lay down.
Yeah, yes, Don, we're craving sweets. So.
Yeah, it's Christmas time.
He said, call me Russ. We'll call you Russ.
Russ, that's what I've always called him.
Stephanie, I see your comment. We do have your question, and we'll follow it up with your other question when we get to it. So I see it. The second part, or you said to say it second.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I use,
I haven't said.
okay, do it.
Do you treat while teaching this, or just repetition?
Teaching what?
What we were just talking about. Auditory cue when teaching off-leash heel.
So no, I don't use treats to teach heel or off-leash heel or turning to heel. Now, almost everything I say has a now but. So can I teach a dog, and have I taught a dog to heel, focused heel with treats and rewards? Absolutely. Do I teach a puppy to, and this is directly referring to a video I did where I'm teaching turns, where I turn around quickly, have the dog come toward me, and I keep turning to keep the dog focused on me. So absolutely, you can do it with food. Sometimes with food and the kind of dogs I train a lot, it gets them too worked up, so I don't use it. But if you have a dog and you're working on drive, you can absolutely use food for focus. I use food all the time. I use food every day with dogs. It's super important. So just because I said that I don't do it, doesn't mean I don't do it.
Doesn't mean you don't always.
Don't always do it. It just all depends on what I'm trying to achieve. So most of the dogs I get,
You always never do it.
almost always never do it, because we're trying to decrease the drive. But I do have a good number of clients that do have drivey dogs, and they're trying to use that drive to make them work. So yes, you can do everything that I do with treats and with food. You can do the heel, you can do the focus heel, where you have the dog spin and reverse and come to you. All that can be done with food, and especially with little puppies, like before probably 5 months old, it's all done with food.
Right.
Like just leash pressure, because I want to build that drive. If you go back and look at some of the puppy videos, you'll see that all the turns, everything I do with leash and prong collar with the older dogs is done just with food with the puppies.
Oh, good question. Okay. It says, is it okay to go back to basics, even though my dog's been walking on a prong collar for probably 6 to 7 months? It says, she does a pretty good heel as long as I keep the lead short. If I give her any length of lead at all, she would walk in front of me.
Okay, stop there first. Stop right there. I want to, before I get lost in this question, because I read it, I want to address that. So all the time I hear, my dog walks good on a short leash or a short lead, or what is the exact word?
Short lead.
A short lead. What that means to me, and what it means is I have to keep the leash really short, and I have to really just hold the dog. So the dog's not walking on a short lead. You're not giving the dog any leash. So the dog doesn't understand to walk in a heel or a follow.
Doesn't really understand that leash pressure.
It doesn't, and you're keeping pressure all the time. Now, something that's super important with dogs, and we'll get as this question goes on, because I've already read it. I think I've already answered her on the email. But is what you have to remember, like prong collars, e-collars, anything that causes pressure can also build drive. So when I'm thinking like, hey, you put the collar on the dog at first, and it does better. Prong collar does better. Dogs not pulling as much, and then as it kind of gets used to it, then it sees another dog, and this is where this is going, freaks out. You do prong pressure, it makes it worse. Because that uncomfortable feeling, or the pressure of the prongs, or dialing up on an e-collar, when a dog is adrenaline pumped and going after something, increases drive. So the entire time you're walking that dog on a short leash,
which is on constant pressure.
Constant pressure, even if it's just a slip lead, constant pressure, you're building drive in that dog. We want to build drive in our dogs, our bite dogs. we secure them to a fence or a tree or on a bungee, and they're always pulling and always building drive. So you're in essence doing the same thing when you're holding a dog back on a short leash and having pressure on that collar all the time. So short leash, you're in essence building drive, and your dog is not walking in a heel position. You're just basically restraining your dog for the entire walk, which is no fun. Okay,
Right.
so go on.
Is it okay to go back to basics?
Yes, that's exactly what I would do. I won't say almost every dog. A lot of dogs that come to me are adult dogs, and they've all had shock collars and they've all had prong collars on, and the dogs are still cuckoo. So it hasn't made a difference. I've had dogs that are so scared of prong collars because they've been snatched so hard that they see the thing and pee themselves. But I still get them used to the prong collar
Right.
again. Reintroduce it because it's an important part of training. Just because the dog behaves with it a certain way doesn't mean you can't reintroduce it or reacclimate it to it. And you just do, just like you would with any other dog. You make them understand leash pressure and giving into leash pressure and release. I don't care how cuckoo the dog is. I don't care how much the dog pulls on a prong collar. You can reteach it. That's the best. One of the best things about dogs is like in order to teach them how to do something new, you just do it over and over. If I get them brand new, it may take me 30 minutes to get them used to it. If I have a dog that's older, that's been used to pulling on a prong collar and just blows through it, it may take me 2 days. I mean, it may take me a while. I'm in no rush to reintroduce that dog reintroduce that dog to something that hasn't been used correctly.
Yeah.
I was going to go somewhere else with that. I forgot.
She asked, what about help with leash reactivity? It says she's getting better and her episodes are shorter and less intense, but she won't just defer to me on a walk.
Okay. So I was going to say one more thing about the other thing. And so Amber and I were talking today, and I tell this to a lot of people and a lot of clients. I get a lot of dogs that come from other trainers and other persons that I've trained my dog. It's trained. The first thing I do, especially with dogs like that, because they want to bring them by for me to look at them. I don't do it much, but if you want to come by and see me, I'll see you.
Thanks.
I'll see you anytime.
Thanks.
All right then. Make me smile. I'm going to blush. Am I turning red?
No.
I don't know why.
Not yet.
Not yet. So the first thing I do when somebody will bring their dog in with a prong collar, e-collar, and it'll be doing all the stuff, sit down, place, like that. So I take the dog and I take all the tools off. I put it on a slip lead and see how the dog acts. If the dog understands pressure on, pressure off, the dog understands giving into pressure, on a slip lead that dog will respond to me. I don't care if it's just pulling the other way. If the dog understands pressure, the dog will at least turn its head or at least acknowledge me. Almost every time I put a slip lead on that dog, it doesn't understand pressure. And so that's what you're teaching the dog. You're teaching the dog to give in to pressure, not to I'm going to hurt you if you pull me. You'll end up with a tug of war.
Right.
Okay? So keep that in mind when you're teaching the prong collar or reintroducing the prong collar, introducing the prong collar. You're not trying to say, hey, if you pull me, I'm going to snatch your head off.
Right.
Because the dogs eventually just get where they don't care. They get calloused to it, conditioned to it, and you end up just the whole walk is go out.
It's miserable.
Go out. Remember when we used to tell our dogs to slow down?
Yes.
So, not thinking, we used to tell our dogs, slow down, and we give them a correction. Slow down, we give them a correction. And so I thought about it one day. I'm like, we're teaching our dogs to start in a heel position, perfect. And then as we walk, to get a little ahead, we say slow down, they come back. So we're teaching our dogs to go from here to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, to here. And a lot of times we do things and don't think, because when we say slow down, they would slow down.
They
do. And then one day I just woke up smarter than I was the day before.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And just we're teaching our dogs.
So in that, we went back to basics.
We went back to basics. I just taught the heel like you heel. And then that's when I kind of started messing with e-collars a few years ago when I'm reinforcing that heel. Made it easier. I'm going to get my drink.
Okay.
I'm getting parched. I got it.
All right.
It's my juju juice.
Your juju juice? So, so you finished that, and this asked, what about help with leash reactivity?
So when the dog understands leash pressure, and the dog understands giving into that pressure, the dog understands that pressure is coming from you, and the way I get off that pressure is to focus on you, to turn to you. Then that starts to go into leash reactivity. And I think she says in there, if sometimes she catches it early, or if she lets it go too long, like it escalates because the dog doesn't understand pressure. So when that dog is going for the other dog and it's escalated, when she puts that pressure on the leash, what does it do? Builds drive. So the dog's like, I'm after that dog, adrenaline's up, endorphins up, that dog's amped to go. And then now you're gonna do something that's gonna cause more discomfort, and the dog's gonna say, I really hate you now.
Right.
Like, it's me and you. And a lot of times what happens, what does that dog do? Turns right around and redirects on the owner or the handler. We were doing a go home, happened, dog was fine. I think we talked about it last week, dog was fine the whole week. Mom got dog in hand, I brought another dog out. Ugh, the dog went crazy. Mom gave the correction like she was taught to do, like in our go home session, but it was not the right time, and the dog turned around and she was like, oh my gosh, you know. So we had to revisit, okay, when that happens, this is how you do it. If the dog understands pressure, understands a proper correction, which is quick pressure, you can deal with that. But if the dog doesn't understand it, and think about it, you're walking with that dog on a short leash with the pressure on that collar the entire time, and the dog's just getting more amped and driving and driving, and now it sees something, now my adrenaline's up, now I'm going that way, ow, that hurts, now I'm going that way even harder.
Right.
So it all comes back to the dog understanding what pressure is.
Do you want me to take one from here?
Oh, sure.
Kyle, hello Kyle. If you're still on, he asked, how hard is it for you as a trainer to correct food aggression?
It's not hard. So food aggression, one of the top things that we deal with, food aggression, guarding toys, guarding sofas, guarding people. The best way that I've found to do that is with the bonker.
The bonka?
Rolled up towel. I used to handle it totally different, but if you don't know what a bonker is, I have some videos. You can Google Gary Wilkes. It's, I believe, the one that turned me onto it. It's just a rolled up towel, and it's a punisher, and it keeps you from having to get your hand near there. And also, I've had dogs correcting food aggression with a prong collar, like amp them up. Like they're like, you know, I'm going to go get it harder now. So the bonker is something that's completely neutral. It's just a towel, the dog, funk. You know,
It's an interrupter.
it's an interrupter.
Hey, Miss Terry. That was a good
Did I answer
question.
the question? Did I answer it?
I thought it,
Okay.
not that, I mean, yeah.
Okay, if I didn't answer it, let me know. I did answer it to your satisfaction.
This is from Dana. She said, my 20-month-old Doberman will not walk behind me. She will walk at my side on a short lead, but if I let the lead out, she will walk farther and farther ahead, if not corrected. So was that the first part of that? I don't know.
It was the same person, but different question.
Okay.
So we've been going back and forth with this stuff, kind of coaching her.
Okay.
So read it again. I was half listening. Sorry.
My 20-month-old Doberman will not walk behind me. She will walk at my side on a short lead, but if I let the lead out, she will walk farther and farther ahead if not corrected.
Yeah, so your dog doesn't know what the heel position. Right back to basics. Leash pressure, terms. So again, we think that the dogs walk in a heel position or at a follow walk because we give them correction, and that's like just a small part of it. You have to teach the dogs to follow you with leash pressure. You have to teach them, and you do that with turns, left and right hand turns, reverses, to teach the dog like, hey, if I'm not following you, it can go bad really quick. Like there's going to be a correction. My best bet is to pay attention to you, and that comes into play. I'm going to post a video probably tomorrow. I don't think I'll have the brain power to do it at night, but 6 minutes long. We're working a dog today. I'm using a stuffed animal. Dog has attacked other dogs. It has wounds all over it. It's taking antibiotics because it just recently got in a fight with other dogs. And I use this little stuffed animal, and dogs hate it. It's like a little wiener dog. and dogs hate it. I keep it up on the Coke machine on purpose, and if the dog is dog
Are
aggressive,
they giving it the stank eye?
and they keep just looking up at it. So then I put it down on a little place cot.
Oh.
And so what you'll see is when the dog, once you do, we did probably 15 minutes of leash work with it this morning. It's the first real leash work we've done. Once the dog understands correction, understands leash pressure, and understands that's a consequence, the dog will follow you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't force a dog into position. You know, if you're going to do a good e-collar heel, like if you're going to teach an e-collar heel, basically the dog walks into a electric wall. Okay, so the dog walks up, pressure, pull back. So the dog starts to understand this is the place of 100% grace, no consequences right here. So if the dog goes left, right, backwards, or forward, e-collar. If you want to teach a dog a good solid heel quickly, e-collar, prong, leash pressure, like that. It's not hard. But if you're teaching a dog a follow walk with a leash, it's a little more difficult, it's a little more skill, a lot more time, because you're teaching the dog in essence to follow you. In my opinion, it is super important to teach the dog to understand the leash part of the training, because the leashes are very physical and very visual at the same time. So the dog gets the connection between you and them. A lot of times with the e-collar, you can do it quicker, but the dog doesn't always get the connection. All it understands is if I get up to this level, there's a consequence, there's a shock or a continuous bzz. And when I move backwards, there is freedom, 100% grace. So the dog really understands really quickly, I don't go past here. So if you want to teach a quick heel and you're going to use an e-collar, it's probably the easiest way to do it.
Okay. Stephanie, I hope you're still on. We're going to ask the first part of your question, and then I'll get to what you just posted.
So before you start, Stephanie's dog was with me for a 3-day or 5-day. It was going after other dogs. She worked at a feed store. They said it couldn't come back to the feed store.
Okay.
And so the dog required a lot of leadership. It was completely fear-based. So fast forward several months, this is kind of where the dog has moved to.
Okay, she said, as you know, my dog Ripley, well, she's become very timid about everything. Every time I ask her to come to bed or to the kennel or go outside, she cowers down like she's in trouble. She refuses to come to bed and rather sleep in her kennel. When she was at doggy daycare, she would play with the other dogs for a little bit, and then she would tuck tail and hide in the corner till I let her in a kennel away from everyone. How can I build her confidence up and get her back to being a lovable, playful puppy?
So this is the thing with that, and it's kind of where we were with the training. So where does she keep defaulting to in that whole story?
Kennel.
Okay, so what is the kennel?
Safety.
Structure.
Structure.
Well, safety and structure. So when she understands what the kennel means. The kennel means structure. I know what to expect from here. I know the rules in here. This is where I'm going to go. So if I'm training a dog and a fearful dog and they want to keep running to the kennel, I shut the kennel. Like, we have to work through this. But what I want to Stephanie to kind of get out of this is, like, the kennel is what she's saying. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, and from you kenneling her and her probably being with me, she understands what the kennel means. The kennel is the constant. Okay. So use that to your advantage. Use that structure. So doggy daycare, like, if you drop me off in an adult daycare where adults were like tackling each other and jumping on each other and sniffing each other's butts and romping and rolling on the ground, how would you feel?
I want to go in the corner and hide.
And if you had a cage you could run to lock yourself in, what would you do?
I'd go in there.
I think it's called prison. That's what it's like in prison. So
what, the adult daycare part?
Yeah, the adult daycare. I mean, I think that would be like, you're with adults. These are all grown people, but they scare the crap out of you. So I just better be in my cell where it's safe.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So when you have a fearful, doggy daycares are of the devil anyway, because the dogs, they just stay worked up. There are a few good ones here in town, and I don't know what other town. They're super structured. Like, they takes super care to make sure the dog has social interaction.
But not social chaos?
And I'm going to mention the one that I know because the folks are amazing. You can barely get in there. The others I don't know so well. I've been to a few of them. This one I know really well. Barks and Recreation here. Like the sisters own it. And like when you go in there, if you look at the cameras, you see like structured playtime with 1 or 2 dogs with a toy. You see dogs being walked outside. And so there's a schedule. You know, both those girls worked at the zoo. They understand animals. They understand structure. So that's a structured daycare. When we get our building, we'll have a structured daycare where the dogs come in and there's structure and there's healthy interaction where there's no pressure. When you have dogs putting pressure on each other like that, especially if you have a fearful dog, that fearful dog quickly, if it can't get away to its kennel, how does the fearful dog let you know that it's fearful?
Mouth.
His mouth. You know,
She said she was working there and she would be with her.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're with her or not. Unless you're controlling the interaction of every other dog and the way she perceives those dogs, that's a horrible thing. You're setting the dog up for failure, and it happens all the time. And those dogs get kicked out of daycares and you know, because they're bad dogs. It would freak me out. I mean, you have
You're
some
pretty
people-
confident.
I'm pretty confident sometimes, but you know, what was that about? Is that like a strut thing? You know,
was a confident
so you
strut.
have some people who are like born to be in prison, like that's their life. Seriously, you have the people who they feel uncomfortable out of prison, like they'll always be in prison because that's where they're comfortable. That's their niche. You have people like me, like that's like one of my biggest fears. I don't want to go to prison. Like, lock me
Not
up.
a fan.
Not a fan. You have dogs that like they do well in that chaos. And you have owners that do well experiencing the chaos and the dogs being wound up. But you have other dogs that are like, this is freaking me out.
Like, I would say Sadie would not like it. She likes to kind of do her own thing. She likes other dogs, but
Yeah.
I don't think she would do well there.
Especially
Especially with all the other dogs just all over her.
Neither.
I don't think any of our dogs
All
would.
of my dogs would be like, "You get away from me! I'm going to bite your face off." You know, you're in my space. So with a lot of that fear stuff, you do have to work through it. But if you're trying to work a dog through fear and you're not advocating for the dog at, like, say, a daycare, and dogs are just bombarding, gosh, you set yourself back. If you're trying to tell your dog to go to bed and you want it to sleep with you, and the dog's like, I'm not cool sleeping there, maybe you snore. Who knows? Maybe you kicked it in the face when you were sleeping one night or had a nightmare and choked it out. I don't know. But for some reason, let the dog understand the structure of kennel, and then use place, use other things to start to build the dog's confidence, get it out around different sights and sounds and smells. And when Ripley was with me, you know, we started to do that. She was only with me for a week, so we could only do it
Limited things.
But start taking her places where she can start to absorb this from a distance. Like, you know, if I don't care if my dogs can sit beside a train coming by at 100 miles an hour. Like, as long as they're not in my house and hear the train and freak out.
Right.
And if they do, we're going to work through it. I don't care that my dogs can be at a firing range, but like, I do want them to be okay when fireworks go off. And so I don't have time to get into the entire how-to, but you have to work your dogs through these things.
Little baby steps.
Super baby steps. And our idea of having dogs that are like these super social creatures that have to have all this interaction or want all this interaction is not true. It's not.
I don't think it's a realistic expectation.
It's not realistic. And so we envision dogs romping and playing together and running through the forest and doing all these things. And I don't know if we have any forests in this area anymore. There's some woods.
I don't know where anyone can frolic.
I don't know where anyone can frolic freely without running into somebody.
Freely frolicking in the forest.
Freely frolicking in the forest. We should play a drinking game out of that somehow.
No.
You're right.
That would not be good. Okay, so she had another question about, she has a 9-week-old pit bull named Twix.
Okay.
We were just talking
You're
about
Candy.
Candy.
Don't eat him.
Said, I've noticed if you stare at her, she will start growling and barking. She's 9 weeks old. It may seem playful, but I'm afraid it might manifest into alpha dominance and aggression. A 9-week-old pit bull already growling.
So don't stare at her.
I don't think that's correct answer.
I mean, if you're like staring a dog down, like little puppy, to me that's saying, hey, let's play. Let's do some 9 weeks old. Gosh, I would have to see the behavior, but just like going off of what my brain is telling me.
Sometimes it's playful.
Like you're provoking the behavior.
Ah.
Like if I'm gonna sit and stare you down, like you know when I play with puppies. Come here, Gretchen. So watch this. Gretchen.
Now she's gonna sit perfectly.
So turn the camera to her. So I'm just gonna stare her down. Like I know this dog.
Hold on.
There we go. All right, so I know this dog, right? Gretchen.
Gretchen.
Now watch her. Watch. She's like, what the hell are you doing? She's looking at mom. Like, I know the dog. Turn this back around.
Oh.
There we go. Oh, turn. There we go. So, kind of my point to that was, hey, I have no head.
It's like how my granny's pictures were.
That little demonstration. So I know her. She wants to come to me to be pet. I've known her for like a long, long time. How many years? Lots of years. As long as you've had her. But staring at her, she was just like, and if I move, she was like, look at mom. Like,
Oh, she said it's not a stare down. It's if I even look at her.
yes, video that
just-
sent it to me. That doesn't even sound like a puppy thing.
So if you just look in her direction, give us a little more information, Stephanie. So if you're just looking at her, she just starts growling, or if it's like, because normally what Gretchen will do is like if he starts staring at her, and she'll go, and then she'll go, and she's.
And my dogs do the same thing. It's a thing we do. It's a playful thing, but it can turn into something bad. I don't. 9 weeks is like an infant, so it's like you're saying I'm staring at I'm staring at a 1-year-old and he starts crying, or staring at a 8-month-old and he starts crying, a baby. So I would have to see what's going on. There's no way I can possibly answer that question.
So maybe video it and then PM them.
I need to see the context of it. You know, if it's a bratty behavior, you punish the behavior. All right, go lay down. I'm done staring at you. Go. So if it's a bratty behavior, there's ways you can correct a puppy, leash pop. But a puppy shouldn't. A 9-week-old puppy shouldn't. I guess be able to reason that out.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't.
Like it's still an infant.
It's still an infant. It shouldn't understand that. So I'm at a loss for that one.
She said if you say potty time and she runs to the door and you look at her and growls and barks. So I would video it.
Yeah, the question keeps getting like bigger.
Yeah, so maybe just video it and then send it to
Yeah.
them, and maybe we can readdress it next week.
Yeah.
Cece says, I got a dog from Memphis Animal Shelter. He is 2 years old. How do I start training? He's a Catahoula.
You got Catahoulas are pushy.
They're like cattle dog, right?
Yeah, they're pushy dogs. They're smart, super smart dogs. I've had a good amount of them this year. I don't know if they're becoming more popular, and people get rid of them because they're hard to manage.
Because they're working dogs.
That's probably they're working dogs. That's probably why they're at the shelters. I think almost everyone I've had has been from a shelter situation. So it's 2 years old. He just wants to know how to start. So the best way to start is put rules in place. Structure. That's especially working dogs have to have structure. Is it not on me enough?
No.
Thank you.
Oh,
Working dogs have to have structure. All dogs have to have structure, but working breeds and breeds with drives like that have to have rules, have to have structure. Kennel. I don't care if the dog is 2 years old, leash inside. You have to have a way to communicate with the dog to teach the dog the rules. If with a Catahoula, right?
yes.
With a Catahoula, any dog, but I'm gonna keep saying any dog, but working breed or high drive dog, they're gonna push boundaries. They're super smart. I mean, they're scape artists. They figure stuff out. They're thinkers, and you can almost see some dogs just processing. You're doing stuff, and when I have super smart dogs on place and they're looking around, watching what's going on. They may have been with me a week or so or whatever, but I can see them before they even start to make a decision to do something bad. I can see them processing. So super structure with the dog, super schedule, kennel, and also something I want to point out about the kennel that I've been having to talk about a lot this week is don't just kennel when you're not home. Kennel also some when you are home, so the dog doesn't start to disassociate it when you're leaving. I've had a couple situations over the last few weeks. The dog has been okay in the kennel, and then all of a sudden it's not. And almost every case has been that just a young dog and they just kennel when they leave. Kennel is processing time. Kennel is the time for a dog to process what's happened before. And if you're using and training, if you're training your dog, if you're using the kennel just when you leave, you're not utilizing the tool. The kennel is a tool. You're not utilizing it effectively. So kennel when you're home, even if it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes throughout the night or throughout the day, processing time. Also, if you're working with your dog and get super frustrated, it's the best place for the kennel. Best time for the kennel.
Right.
If you have kids at home and you're like having to fix dinner and change diapers, like instead of dog running around, kennel. Super important. So with the 2-year-old dog, start with the leash. The leash is super important. Communication tool. Have a lot of videos on YouTube.
Yeah, he put up a second how you establish connection with that new dog that's you haven't had since a puppy.
That's perfect question and perfect thing to ask. So you're going to do that with a leash. Leashes are very give a dog a visual and physical connection to you. So when we get new dogs, I don't care how old they are, short leash them, which means they are attached to me, to my hip, in the house. When we leave, I try to take them as many places as I can, so they get to experience a lot of things, but they understand, like if I go to a room, they go to a room. If I stop, they stop. There's no free roaming, and really quickly that dog will be glued to your side and understand, when I pull on this, we go somewhere. When I stop, you stop. Within just a couple of days, a dog will understand the connection to you, and that's the absolute best way. What we do with rescue dogs, and with any dogs, is we reward them over. Sit, we do all this stuff, sit down, all this stuff, and there's no connection. The connection is to that reward. When dogs come into the program or when new dogs come into my house, like at first, especially the first few days, I don't reward them a lot. I don't do all the sits and downs and here's a treat. I put them on a leash. I do hand feed them their meals, so that builds that bond through their food, but there's not a lot of reward. I want to set myself up in a place of leadership, not in a place of happy time, because we can get to happy time later, but if you go to happy time first, it's super hard to...
Well, I think a lot of people, like when they get a rescue dog, they have this feeling of,
any dog.
of, oh my gosh, I'm going to give you everything, which is, you want to love your dog, but they have beds and toys and just let the dog here's your home, and it's like a kid in a candy store. And it's like, but instead of that, immediately start structure, and then you can bring in that, because just like kids, dogs thrive in structure.
Yeah, and it's much easier to give the happy time a little later on than it is to try to give happy time first and instill that leadership later, because it always goes too far. I mean, with the happy time, to the point of where now it's become a learned behavior. This is the way the dog acts. It's on your furniture. It's pushy, and now we're in a behavior modification thing where the dog has done this so long.
Right.
It takes a long time to turn it around.
Well, good question, Stacey. Misty says, I have an 11 month,
Really? Easy for you to say.
Yep. I have an 11-month, I almost did it again, 11-month-old Cocker Spaniel who is almost like a wild child, because they're crazy. We always had Cocker Spaniels. They only liked my mom. Yeah. Anyway, she runs crazy and she doesn't want to listen to any commands at all. Any suggestions to help her calm or self-soothe? I don't know what self. Is that like sucking a thumb like a baby?
Well, self-soothe means just chill out on your own without me having to like throw things at you and threaten you and hang you from the ceiling fan, give you to the mailman.
Cocker Spaniels are so pretty. He would let us brush his long, pretty hair, but he only liked my mother.
So I had a Cocker Spaniel that was a total rear end and for training. Amazing with me, but the folks didn't have enough structure at home, and the dog would like wake him up in the middle of the night so it could go outside. It would escape, run the neighborhood. I mean, just a bratty dog. And so they were teaching at kennel. I was probably about 3 years old, and the dog was just against it all. And so one night they had a Christmas party, and they didn't put the dog in the kennel, and no one would let the dog out. They weren't paying attention to the dog. So that little Cocker Spaniel got up on the buffet-style table and pooped in the middle of the dining room table and walked away.
That's so gross.
It is gross. What is it, Sabrina, the trainer we know, she said the other day on a training forum, like, yes, my personal dog just pooped on my coffee table.
That's lovely.
That's lovely. So, back to your question.
So, any command, she didn't want to listen to any suggestion to help her calm down.
Yeah, we're going to go right back to the leash. So, you're going to have to show her to calm down. How old did she was? 11?
11-month-old.
Yeah, so she is like...
A teenager.
Teenager coming into...
Tween.
Yeah. Dogs go through a couple stages, like birth to 4 months, 4 months to 9 months. Excuse me, where it's kind of a learning, brain's developing, then between 11 months and a year and a half to 2 years. 2 years is kind of considered mature. So her brain's like hormones are kicking in. Like, wow, this is great. So we're going to go back to the same thing we kind of been talking about. Put her on a leash. The more structure you can put in her world, the better. If she's not kennel trained, kennel train her. You're going to have to teach her the rules inside your house. We take for granted dogs have common sense. Mm-hmm. They have no common sense. Everything they do is learn behavior. The only thing they really do, just if they have some basic natural drives, a couple of them are seeking a mate, food, and shelter. That's right. If they were like outside, those are the three things.
Right.
If they weren't fixed, they would seek a mate. They were hungry, food, and it's raining outside, shelter. So what do? When we get dogs, we fix them, feed them, and house them. Mm-hmm. So everything else is just like a good time. So the 11 months you've had her, first it was cute, fluffy, like you said, you get to brush her hair. She did what she wanted to. You're busy, kids, family. So the dog has been running the show, doing whatever it wants to do. And now all of those bad behaviors have become learned behaviors. Mm-hmm. So in order to teach the dog to do different behaviors, you have to physically do it. And that's going to be with a leash. That's going to be teaching kennel. That's going to be putting boundaries in place, putting rules in place, not let the dog have the run of the house. Giving
Place is a beautiful thing.
Place is a beautiful thing. Learning to go to a place and just chill out. There has to be a corrector. There has to be a punisher. There has to be something that you use when that dog grabs a hold of your kid's jeans and starts tearing it, or poops on the table right in front of you. Whatever this dog is doing, there's going to have to be something that matters to the dog enough to make it stop, whether it be leash and prong.
She says she is kennel trained.
Okay, so use the kennel to your advantage. So you can, if you're still watching, I guess you are, respond. I bet when you open that door, she like bolts out of the kennel through the house like a whirlwind. Make sure you use the kennel, not just for kenneling at night. Make sure you do it during the day. Almost all dogs in the kennel, you open the door, boom, they're out. When we go from chaos to chaos.
She said, yes!
Imagine that. So it's like I've done this before. So when that dog goes to rush, this is the first thing you're going to do to bring order in your house. When that dog goes to rush out the kennel, you're going to open the kennel slightly, and as soon as it does what it always does, rush it out, you're going to slam the door right in the face. You're not going to say a word. You're going to open a little more, and you're going to slam the door right in his face. Open a little more, slam the door, and keep doing that until that dog looks at you. Then you open it slowly. If the dog does it again, do it to keep slamming the door right in his face. And that's a punisher. Not physically harming the dog. You're not
It's loud.
It's loud. It's like in your face. Really quickly, you'll see the dog just stand there and look at you, and you open the door, and it's just going to look at you. Then you take a slip lead, leash. Slip leads are easier. They just go right over the neck. You put it around the dog's neck, and then you lead the dog out. I guarantee you, when that dog hits the edge of that kennel, it's going to do like it's done every other time. It may have stopped right there. So now we have calm inside the kennel. As soon as that dog comes out of the kennel on that leash, it's going to go right to chaos. It's going to want to do what it's done for 11 months. Now you have a leash, and you can give a correction.
And you can communicate.
You can communicate with the dog and say, nope, that's not how you're going to act. And we're going to go back in the kennel, and we're going to do this all over again. When you can walk from the kennel out the door calm, then we'll take the next step. So you're actually going to have to teach the dog how to go from the kennel to the back door, from the back door to outside, out, and just baby steps, one step at a time. Working with today.
I wasn't there.
There you are. She's working for us.
Oh, Amber. I
Amber.
thought you were talking about a dog.
No.
Sorry, Amber, you're not a dog.
So working with Amber today, one of the things that I pointed out was like when the dogs are finished and they think they're going inside, they want to bolt inside. And that's like the most important part. Like just because we're finished out here doesn't mean there's going to be chaos all the way to the door. Even if you have door manners and stop, if we have to do the same 4 steps for 10 minutes to get the dog to understand every step in this direction, you're going to behave. There's rules. Like until I say okay or free or go play, whatever your word is to go have fun, like there are rules. And you're going to have to teach that dog 1 footstep at a time. Everywhere in your house, going in and out the doors, going in and out of the car. Oh, battery doesn't die.
Yeah, 20%.
Yeah, going in and out of the door. So the kennel is the first step. Like start calm in the kennel, come out of the kennel. You have to start somewhere, and that's since you already
right.
kennel trained. That is the most structure she knows. That's the best place to start.
Utilize it. Libby says she's late, but she says we look beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Libby.
Libby.
She was at the last T3.
Okay, very cool. Cece, this is the getting the Catahoula. What's the most effective training style on older dogs? I would say it's just the same.
Yes, exactly the same. So on older dogs, a lot of times with young puppies, it's slip lead, leash pressure, lots of food. But even with older dogs, 2-year-old dogs, especially your personal dog, to build.
He picks it up tomorrow, so he hasn't even got it yet. And he's like, is there a different way to discipline a rescue dog, or does it?
Yeah. Oh, so you haven't picked it up yet? Perfect. When you pick up that dog, and I'm gonna be like ridiculed for this. People are gonna send me ugly stuff. I don't care. No affection. Like, don't say, "Hey, good puppy." Put the leash on the dog. Have a kennel in your car. Put the dog in the kennel, and go home. The more you can set that standard right in the beginning of leadership, like I'm your leader at this point. I'm not your friend, companion, anything. I'm the person who's going to be caring for you. You have to listen to. Be super matter of fact. I'm sure in the shelter it's been loved and cared for and baby talked and treated. And so when you get the dog, you're gonna be a man and say, "Is this a guy, right?"
I don't know.
Who is it?
Cece.
Cece? I don't know. Cece, if you Cece, that might be a girl. I don't know. Well, if you're gonna have to woman up or man up and say
adult up.
Adult, as much as I want to love this dog and care for this dog, the best thing you can do is put a leash on the dog, not say a word to it, put it in your car in a crate, go home, structure, super structure. I would personally hand feed the dog the meals.
She's a girl.
Girl. Thanks, Cece.
Girl.
Girl power. Girls rule the world.
We do.
I would hand feed the dog if you have kids, like if you have other dogs. Whatever's going on in your house is none of that dog's business. The more, and it sounds so hard and it sounds so harsh, but the dog, if you teach a dog you're in the leadership role from the first minute, you will save yourself time and money and frustration. Even when the dog goes outside, a long lead. Like, so when you say it's time to come in, if the dog doesn't come in, you have a way to say, "Hey, no, you should come in." The dog may come to you fine. Who knows? May not. Doesn't know you. Brand new. You don't know what it's been through in the last 2 years. It doesn't really matter. But what you can say is, right now, I'm in leadership position. It's like, when you're in a leadership position at your job, and you have leaders above you, like the people that work with and for you, like they're not over here tonight. They've never been to your house.
Right.
Because there's a line you have to make that says, okay, I'm your friend, but I can't be your friend and your boss or your leader.
Well, it's also kind of like, I know a lot of parents do this. I'm not one of these parents. And you can ask my kids, I'm not their friend. I'm their mom.
Yeah.
My mom was not my friend. My mom was my mom. And that's a different, I have much respect for her because she didn't try to buddy with me. She didn't always tell me, she always told me what I needed to hear. I didn't always like what she said, but I always respected her because she wasn't my friend. She was my mom. And that's kind of the same.
Yeah, she was
same position.
She was in a leadership role.
She was in a leadership
position. It can't be both. So if you are really good friends with people that work under you and that you're a leader over, I don't care if it's in church. I don't care where. If you're in a leadership role at church, like it's unhealthy to be a leader and best friends. It never
It's
works.
It's hard to discipline.
It never works
right,
out.
Right.
It never. You'll either end up hating each other because you have to give discipline. This person's resentful to you. Same thing with your bosses, like your leadership. Like, have you ever been to any of the owners' houses?
No, there's a line.
There's a line. You know, have we been out to dinner with them just to hang out?
No.
Have we ever been invited?
No.
No. That's my point. It's like, you know.
And there's much respect
and
there.
you can have business dinners and, you know, where you kind of get, but there's a line, like, you know, once, just like in life, once you cross that leadership best friend, you can't be both. And with dogs are opportunists. You always have to be a dog's leader. You have to be a dog's leader.
And there's time for rolling around and playing in the floor.
Yeah.
You know.
Like you do with your
just,
employees.
No.
Oh.
That's weird.
That is weird. I thought I'd just throw that out there.
Okay.
Moving on.
So she said when she saw him at the shelter, every time he walked past a big dog, he barked or jumped on their cage. Is this a sign that he doesn't want to be challenged? And will that be hard for me?
It's a sign that he probably has some reactivity, maybe some dog aggression. Like I said, those are pushy dogs. Those are dogs that are used to saying, hey, this is my space, you stay out of it. And you nip you on your heels because you need to go that way. So they're very dogs that create order and kind of division. Like, you stay over there, you stay over there. And if you don't do what I ask you to do, I'm going to come make you do
Nip your heels and herd you along.
So with any dog, this kind of breed specifically, it sounds probably some leash reactivity, and it can be a problem. You know, not something that can't be remedied, but I highly recommend you get a handle on it right away, because the more comfortable the dog gets with you, the worse it's going to get. And the worse it's going to get, the harder it's going to take to fix. And if you're going to ever get training from somebody, I don't know where you live, the more it's going to cost, because the longer it's going to take. If you handle it like right away, it's done. It's like, you know, if everybody that like did drugs like got help right away, like they wouldn't have 15 years of use or 10 years of use and remission. It's like anything with the dog that you see that you've like, because you're a responsible human, you're like, wait, that dog broached that cage and that just doesn't seem right. It's not right.
Right.
So correct it now.
So good questions. Miss Terry says good night.
Yeah, we're about out of here too. We're
So-
gonna go another 10 minutes because we got on late. If my battery lasts.
Well, that's all the questions we have.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not really.
I think we had some great questions tonight.
We
So if
did.
you have any, if you're watching this on replay and you have some questions, go ahead and put them down here, and we'll see those questions and answer them. So
Yeah, so if you put them down there, I like most of these questions that came in, people asked during the week, and I kind of know folks are in some dire situations with dogs, so I don't always wait till Thursday. I will send you an answer usually pretty quick. It's what I super enjoy doing, is answering questions. There's absolutely no way that she and I can physically touch every dog of every person that like reaches out to us. Amber today asked me how many emails I got today, and gosh, it was a lot.
a lot.
And how many texts and how many?
Yeah.
It's a lot, and
A lot of times we're on the phone. I'll call you back. I gotta answer this call.
yeah.
Hey, let me call you back. I gotta answer this call.
And so you know, for as long as I can, as it gets to the point, it's getting to the point where it's just so much it takes away from the dog training time. I've had to structure my time, but as much as I can, I will answer questions, put out videos. You know, hey, nope. Justin home, I guess.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Put out videos, do whatever I can to educate folks and get that information out there. So if you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask. I did a little rant this week about a rescue situation. That lady called me again today. I want everybody to know that, like, I don't ever want anybody to call that has a rescue situation, has a problem in their house. I don't ever want anybody to think that, like, hey,
That they can't call
that
you?
they can't call me. I get a lot of calls from people who don't want help. They want a magic cookie, and I still listen to them. I was on the phone with her for 34 minutes, and the conversation went so well in her eyes. She called me back today to ask me more questions, and like, she never really asked a question. It was just like wanting me to do some magic in a situation that's like grim, and the person's not willing to help themselves to help the dogs. So if you, and I'm going to do more stuff about that because it needs to be kind of out there. It's not popular, and I get a lot of hate mail from it, but you know, I want everybody to know that this is what I enjoy doing. It's just like, it's what I live to do. So don't be afraid, or don't what am I trying to say?
Don't feel like you can't call and ask questions.
Yeah. So when I kind of go on little rants like that, it's like the day before that, it was another person kind of situation that she can't.
It's not really asking questions.
It's
just
not asking questions. It's like, hey, take this dog because.
Take this dog because if you don't take this dog, then this dog will die.
Yeah, or the dog is not going to succeed in that situation. I had another person ask me the other day up at the office. He's like, you know, there's a lot of positive stuff. I don't see much negative stuff. And there is negative stuff. If you look hard enough, you'll find it. But it's not super bad. But the reason is, it's like, if I don't think I can help somebody, then I say I can't help you. Like, that's it. If somebody calls me and say, hey, I want you to trade my dog, the first thing I say is, have you been to my website, looked at my prices and programs, and have you been on Facebook, and have you been on YouTube? If they answer no to any of those, I won't book them. I'm like, take a day or two, get to know me, go through videos. Like, you know, we try to take clients and help people who want to be helped, because if you're not careful, there are so many people that will just take and take and take and never want to do anything with the information you give them. They just want somebody to kind of make them feel good about their situation. And I'm all about giving people hope, but it comes to a point where, like, if, like the lady from yesterday, I told her where to find all the information. She called me back and said, I have a few more questions. Like, she didn't go. If she
Didn't do her due
if she would have
diligence.
called back and said, hey, I looked at your YouTube and I looked at this, and I went to this guy you told me to, and I'll refer people to other trainers who have more information on specifically what they want. If she would have called back and said that, I've been great. So how can I help you? But, you know, so be willing to help yourself. You have to be there first.
Yeah. She asked, Stephanie asked, with the bumper, I'm thinking bonker, would that be good to stop barking in the kennel?
Oh yeah,
Bonker.
bonker works good. If you have a barker or a yipper in the kennel, like, just chunk the towel, and you can use a loud no. Anything that makes the dog stop doing, or startles the dog, or causes the dog to say, well, I got to stop doing that. At the kennel at the facility, if the dogs are all worked up, or I get a new dog, I just take a metal bowl and send it down the aisle. Clang, 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 clang. After 2 or 3 times, the dogs are like, what, every time I bark, I'm going to hear that,
Yep.
excuse me, amazingly loud noise, and they quit that mess. So yeah, bonker's good for that.
All right.
We're going to call it done.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Terry, West Tennessee K9, and I sure hope this helped.
I sure hope this helped.
You guys, are we going to do it next week? Next week? No, next
No,
week's not Christmas.
next week's not Christmas.
Okay, so Christmas is coming fast. I'm looking forward to like a couple of days off.
Yes.
And a lot of food. She makes the best banana pudding.
I do.
What'd you make the other night? Those
Apple dumplings.
apple dumplings. Oh my gosh, went to a church thing the other night, and I got a little plate of real food, but my plate of desserts was like
And he loves lemon cookies, so I made lemon
cookies. Somebody
You
made
got-
key lime pie, the apple dumplings,
And you got apple pie.
apple pie, apple cobbler,
Did you get
chocolate chip
Oreo
cookies.
balls?
I got Oreo balls. Oh, it was so good. I couldn't move afterwards. I felt great. All right.
So Twix is loud in kennel training. Well, bonker.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good night,
You guys-
Stephanie. Good night, Russ.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for
So,
tuning in.
yes.
Have any questions, let me know. Terry, Olivia, West Tennessee K9. I sure hope this helped.
Bye now.